but we got a lot of regulars here. Greg Jacobson, Mouthpiece Murphy. We got
comments right now.
Yeah, looking at the comments here. VBDC, the Seth, as we know, the writer of the
spell that?
VBDC.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's how you do it. And then we have Mickey Ray Sinatra, too, of GetBlitz.com tuning in. And Slam Death. So, guys, welcome. Thanks for joining. If you have a question, use that hashtag AskRVD. If you definitely want a question asked, use that super chat. We'll definitely get to your questions. We'll have some topics to cover this week. Rob, has any of the committee or has anything in regards to that record being broken? Has there been some appeal process when it comes to the Van Dam lift or anything going on there?
I've been a little out of touch, so if anything happened, I might have missed it. And by the way, I apologize to my Cameo fans because I let 3 of them expire.
Oh.
And not only does it wipe out your streak, which mine was in the 70s, I think, you got to start all over. But also, you're really disappointing people that are like, dude, Dalvin is a huge RVD fan. He loves you. Can you just, give him some pep talk or it's his birthday or whatever? And man, I hate when I let them expire. But I lost my connection with the time-space continuum on vacation, and that was one of the unfortunate byproducts. Was every time I would look and I would know, I would forget. And it's, oh, that's right. Don't let me forget. I told Katie, I told Dee, you can't let me forget. I got a Cameo expiring in like 4 hours. And anyway, that flight took more than 4 hours and I got on it and missed them. So I apologize to all of you. And that was really relevant to what we were just talking about. Tell them how, Dom. Tell them how.
Tell them how, because it just expired. And I don't know how it tied in, to be honest, Rob. I don't know. Wow. But I did want to follow up and ask, when those expire, are you able to just do them and be like, hey, sorry I missed your birthday, blah, blah, blah. Boom, it's still RVD and I'm happy for you. Can you do something like that? Or how's that work?
Used to be able to. It was like send them anyway. And then there's also an option like ask them to resend the request. I couldn't find any of those or any trace of the requesters. Like, I don't know. Anywhere on the app, I couldn't find it. It's just it's as if they didn't exist, and neither did my streak. It's just like there's no. And when I go to expired, like the most recent one was like in May or something, and so I'm very confused about it. And I apologize because I'm positive they're watching this, and I'm going to be on top of it more. I have one right now that expires already in 9 hours and 19 minutes. And usually for me, I don't mean to, but it always seems better later until there isn't much later. So
right.
A lot of times I'm like, send.
You work better under pressure. That's it.
I do everything only when I have to.
I'm a lot of the same way as a writer. It's like I procrastinate the fuck out of shit all the time. So, cool. Let's get to some topics here, Rob. What did I want to start off with here? Hopefully the right notepad pops up. Yes. Okay. So what I did want to start off with was, did you get to catch Hook versus Samoa Joe at all this week?
Yes, I did.
All right. Well, It was a good match, huh?
Yeah.
What? And you kind of almost alluded to the respect thing, and it almost happened. It seemed. But then Hook wanted more of them, and he got it from Samoa Joe at the end. He gave him a muscle buster to finish it off. But yeah, what'd you think of the match, Rob?
I thought that it was a really good match that was, physical and exciting, and I liked the story, and it had really good moments, unexpected moments, such as, even like the suplex through the timekeeper's table like that. Like sometimes some of the guys just do so much that I was glad to see that still get a pop when it was utilized as it should be, which is like convenience. It's right there. It's something that is at ringside. You know, you're not bringing something foreign and weird with you, like a glass window or something, you know. So anyway, I liked it, and I thought, and you know, when I thought that Hook kept, you know, punking back up to him at the end, I like that, you know, and when he flipped him off and all that. So I caught it, and I did miss the very end though, because I had my DirecTV set to record it, and they were still going at it when it cut out. So I might have missed the last 5 minutes, because does TBS always go 5 minutes over?
So Tony Khan did announce that they were going to have an overrun this week. So they went over their time. So yeah, he was like, and it was commercial free. That main event was commercial free. So they had some special sponsorship stuff going on with Joe's video game. He's part of the Suicide Squad game, and I think that was a sponsorship and collaboration that they kind of took advantage of there. And boom, yes, that's a bummer. So you missed the ending of it, but Hangman Page came out at the end and helped out Hook. But yeah, I thought it was super cool because, you know, Joe, the crowd was really.
How did they help him out?
So once Joe came in and gave him a muscle buster after Hook wanted more of him after the match was over, Hangman Page, who cut a promo earlier on Swerve Strickland and Samoa,
said he was coming after Joe. I watched it this week, bro.
Yeah. And so so that's kind of what happened. But I thought it was really cool, the aspect of like how they got Hook even more over, it seemed, during the match, because he comes out and like he didn't get as big as a reaction as Samoa Joe did. Like Joe was getting chants for and all that stuff really starting off, but Joe got the crowd to turn on him, and Hook was fighting from underneath. So then it ended up being more of a boom, like he gets more of a bigger impact and stuff, and the crowd really swelled up into him and stuff like that. So that was
I thought it was a really good match that got both guys over, got their characters over, told a great story. So I was pretty stoked. And I can also tell you, like, firsthand, it doesn't feel too good when you're used to everybody cheering you and being behind you, and you're in the ring surrounded by an arena full of people saying, Joe is gonna kill you. I can tell you that doesn't feel good. You know, I was like, fuck you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I bet that's like a big motivator. Like, I'm gonna prove you. You know?
But yeah, he's so over. So yeah, good stuff, dude.
Pretty cool to see. Seth, BBDC himself, Venus Beach Dub Club. Thanks for the $10. He says, I'm on Insight 4 of the Celestine Prophecy, Rob. He says, I love the first chapter too. It's like deep, hermetic, philosophical secret mystery school stuff, but in a fun pulp adventure novel. Seems for good initiating people into the esoteric. So how about that?
Yeah, cool, man. I'm glad that you picked it up, and I'm sure you heard me say this before, but it has been life-changing to everybody that I know that has read it, because really, if you're not energy conscious or interested in spiritual growth, I don't know if you would read the book and stick through it. Even if you are, it's hard to get past the first chapter, but congratulations, you made it. You're on chapter 2 and you're enjoying it. You're on the 4th insight, you said. So it's great for those of us that are like-minded. And I got to tell you, like, it might be the 5th. It's been a while since I remember, but as far as like seeing the energy jump like from finger to finger, there's a study guide that tells you how to do that, you know, by touching it, just backing it off enough so that your energy is dissipated at the least while still breaking what we know as physical like connection and form. And anyway, you know, I never was able to see that, or to look at the trees and see like the actual colors. I've never been able to see auras, I've always been jealous of people that could look at auras and say, you don't see that, like that purple haze around them. And I'm like, maybe I don't get it, but I don't think that's for everybody. Maybe we could all learn to do that. I don't know. But yeah, this is a great, as he said, introductory doorway into opening your mind to thinking as everything is energy, because it is.
Yeah. I was telling Beth in the chat there. I was like, well, I'm going to take it down for reading material because I'm still on chapter 1, but I'm going it down.
Hard, bro. It is hard. Mm-hmm. You got to get past the airplane. He gets on an airplane, and the whole point is that all this stuff just happened to line up unplanned. He happened to just have an extra seat or extra ticket, and happened to have this day off, whatever, but everything was lining up, and really that's all you need to know about that. You can like go ahead and go on to the next chapter and get the guy in Peru already, and then it gets good.
Then it starts picking up.
Yeah. But the point is, the stuff from the first chapter comes back around again and has significance. And the point is, everything does.
Yeah.
Like, if you read it and you're really reading it and you dig it, it'll tell you, like if you see someone and they just kind of remind you like of somebody, not exactly them. It could be just a hair, whatever. Like, hey, he reminds me of Dave, boom, that person probably has a message for you. And it's like, it's a different way of living when you think of it that way and think like, I'm supposed to talk to this person. And like, I think I said before, when the guy gave me the book, we were talking about all these synchronicities, and he kept saying, dude, that's in the book. And then he says, Rob, I think I'm supposed to give you this book. I actually have an extra copy in my car.
Oh, no shit.
Dude. Yeah. And that's how I got the book. And I've heard that from a lot of other people too, that usually it's given, not bought, but not always, of course, but it was for me. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So you're right in the thick of it, as Brad Armstrong would say.
Jerry, the first person I talked to way back when I read it was Jerry Manthe. She was this chick that was on Survivor, and I used to do autograph signings with her because we had both had the same agent, Steve Wolf, and I always liked her. Thought she was cool and thought she was cute. I'm not saying I wasn't trying to get down her pants, but I'm saying that I used to. So hey, Celestine Prophecy is a good book, huh? But at first I thought, whoa, what are the chances someone else, read it too? And then I realized that there are a lot of people like that. And if you're not into spiritual growth, self-improvement, and open-minded, then it might not be for you. And if you are, and you really want to stick with it, you get past the Celestine Prophecy, because that's a fictional book based on non-fictional insights that are written on this supposed manuscript towards spiritual ascension. Anyway, there's sequels. There's a 10th and 12th insight. There's a study guide where you can teach you how to apply. I remember I had a little tiny book too, like a little pocket book that was a reminder, I guess, of all the insights, because reminding yourself and being aware of it will remind you, because you'll see it more. As I always say, that implements it more, makes it a bigger part of your life.
What did you find to be a bigger impact of a book on you, would you say, if you had to choose between Celestine Prophecy and the Four Agreements? Because those are the two you've talked about majority of the time since we started this.
Yeah, and I liked The Secret a lot, and then there was a sequel to that was like The Power of Love, like Huey News. Yeah. But because it was the Celestine Prophecy that was, I think, my first, if I remember right, I guess that made more of a change, because it got me from thinking that maybe I just had this really special relationship with the universe, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe like a chosen one, like I've looked at myself like maybe, I'm a hero and I'm like of this generation, I'm the chosen Achilles. But after reading that book, I realized that there's actually like I had the word, now I just lost the word, but a mass movement of restless people that are unsatisfied and don't know why. And this book tells you that it's because of them being disconnected, and they need to connect back in. And this tells you how to do it. Tells you exactly how to do it. And if you really get everything out of it and you read it, you will do that. And you know, I know when I'm disconnected and all of a sudden I feel like my guardian angel is on a smoke break. And that's when all of a sudden I stub my toe. Oh, damn it. And then drop something. Then I get frustrated. And then one thing after another, like, oh, wait. I just know it's like, that's what it's like for me when I feel disconnected. And it happens with negative thoughts. And they produce negative energy. It changes your vibration from a positive vibe to one that can't hold that connection. So could be worry, anger, could be sad, you know, but you train yourself to realize that, be aware of it, and then to, at least for me, make it a lifetime goal to try to stay plugged in all the time. And it's not different than organized religion, except for it's not organized religion, but they're trying to do the same thing as far as being enlightened, being connected, being saved, being on the right path to their goal, you know, but they don't know what's going to happen when you die.
Yeah, just don't. And that's true though too. It's like, yeah, there's that sense of restlessness you get, and it's you know, you want to feel that kind of connection, some sorts of fulfillment and stuff like that. And I get that. I really get that a lot sometimes. So it's like, I better read this book. I better just get on and read it. So
yeah, it talks about the universal consciousness moving in that direction, and yeah, it really opens your eyes to look at things different. So I always put it over. I've never had anybody. Well, maybe one person didn't get past chapter 1, so never mind. But usually it's good. And if you're done, maybe I'll recommend some more. But the movie, not so good. So forget about that.
All right, I won't put that on my watch list then. I will avoid that. But
not come across the message at all.
Oh yeah, just a matter of probably getting some bank off of it or something. This kind of ties in. This wrestling related story kind of ties into what you're just talking about, because like this has been a big aspect of the podcast is RVDology, philosophy, little bit of different stuff that goes on with it, and it's kind of neat. This week, Dustin Rhodes had an interview with Sports Illustrated, and he was asked about like what he wants his lasting impact to be on wrestling. And instead of choosing a wrestling aspect of it, he chose his sobriety. And I have the quote right here. He said, my sobriety, that's my legacy. And I understand it's okay to have bad days. There will be better ones. Life has been an incredible teacher. He says, I've learned a lot, and I plan on being clean and sober for the rest of my life. And then he adds, I wasn't seeing clearly back in the day, and I paid for it heavily. Sometimes I'm still trying to prove myself, even when I don't need to. I came out on the other side. The devil is still sitting here, right on my shoulder. All I need is to do is walk with him. But each new day, I tell him, no, I'm not going to be good today. I'm going to be good today. So I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do drugs. I have my shit together, and I'm fixing to get on with my life. Now, I thought that was kind of pretty cool aspect for him to kind of talk about, like, hey, because he's been like, I think 13 years sober or something at this juncture. So it's been a good amount of time. And so I kind of wanted to get your thoughts. Now, we know about like the impact you leave on wrestling, but if you kind of had to have a lasting legacy that really lasted outside of wrestling, that took a position outside of wrestling, what would you kind of hope to leave for people, so to speak, if you will?
Fitting in is for condoms.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like that. That's good.
It's as deep as you want to take that.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Right. One way you could take that on several levels.
Exactly. But I hope that my nonconformity and one of a kind approach to the industry and to life is what people will appreciate and be able to sometimes, when appropriate, model their own actions after when there's unnecessary pressure to fit in with people that you shouldn't want to be like anyway. But your perspective right now betrays you, and boom, what are you going to do? Hey, what would RVD do? One of a kind, man. Just, I hope that I hope everybody listening to this right now, tattoo one of a kind on your kid's arm, on their left arm. That way it'll be like right there, and everyone will say, hey, and we'll all know each other.
Like Harley Davidson owners.
Yeah, his kids 6 months and up, get a one of a kind tattoo, and then I'll know the validity and the reach of that validity when you do that. Because why do we try to be like other people? Why do we let standards be set by other people for us? And why do we uncomfortably try to meet those even if we don't agree with them, just out of peer pressure or feeling awkward, or sometimes just out of tradition or out of fear of change, drawing attention to ourselves? So a lot of times, man, it's not worth it. I mean, if you're in basic training and he says, everyone against the wall, don't move, maggots. I'm not saying that's the time to jump out and say, hey, I don't fit in with everybody, because then you'll have to do 200 push-ups while he stands on your back. And I'm so glad I didn't ever join the military. Okay, love you.
I love you.
See you, Katie.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Where you going?
To go get a spray tan.
Oh, okay.
I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, love you. Be safe.
Love you.
Anyway, yeah, what I was saying, period.
Yes. That makes sense. It does, like, no, it's like trying to get, like, if you're concerned about what other people think and going off of that, it's like, that's stressful in itself. And then you compound that, and it's just, it snowballs, I think, in a lot of ways. And if
Living up to other people's standards, it can be a meaningless, lifelong agenda that takes the place of a meaningful life of setting and meeting your own standards, and then thereby feeling content.
I like it, Rob.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. Something that also got in the news is someone you're very close to is Sabu was on the Briscoe and Bradshaw podcast.
I saw that too.
Yes, and he made mention about him maybe having a last match this year. And he said to both those guys, I'm actually hopefully setting up for my final match. I want to do maybe a final match, maybe in July or later, a real final match, just one more payoff. So Sabu, obviously we saw him on AEW not too long ago. I believe it was over the summer. And he did a spot there, and it was very cool to see him not only in a suit, but just kind of get that reception and everything like that. Sabu having one more last match. I think it could happen. And is it going to be against you, Rob?
Absolutely, it can happen. Definitely seen wrestlers in worse condition than Sabu pull it off. Hell, a lot of guys did their whole career in worse condition than Sabu is, and with less mobility. You know what I mean? But anyway, style's different now, so you got to be good and be athletic and be tough and be able to move and entertain in that ring like never before. And that's true, you know, compared to when I watched it and it was Big John Studd versus Andre the Giant. They could just tease, trying to pick each other up for a body slam for 15 minutes, basically. And that was what was entertainment back then, compared to the athleticism, the more average size guys, I guess, that are a little more mobile than said giants. I mean, I came in as one of the smaller guys, and now it's like that's everyone has changed the standard like so much that definitely don't think of myself that way anymore, or measure up against other guys like that on the average. But anyway, what were we talking about, dude?
Sabu and like just last match.
So I met Sabu a couple of weeks ago. Myself and Joe Clark, who was my partner, we made the documentary Headstrong. Just Joe and I did everything, every frame, editing music, everything. And so we like working well together, and he wanted to do a documentary on Sabu. And we got Sabu to meet us. This was last week, and he met, and he and Joe talked a lot. And that's where we found out Sabu said that he wants to have one more match, because I couldn't get him to come to Japan when Noah wanted to bring him. He could lay down like a bed on those airplanes, flat, and then stand on the apron. You'll just be my partner. But he was dead set against it. But now he's feeling better. He's working out because he's feeling better, and he's feeling better because he's working out. And he said to us that night he wants to have a match. And wow, we're trying to do a documentary. I don't know, imagine the timing of that, training for that, just that whole agenda and adventure, and part of him with the backstory that he can share while he's getting ready for his last match. That sounds awesome. I asked him, do you have an opponent? And he said no. and I said, okay, so it's not like a specific booking already that you're talking about. He said no, and just hopefully it can happen. I think he said late summer. I'm not real sure, but it seems like for some reason I got July, August in my mind. Don't know why, but either way, he's working out, and he feels better than he ever did. And I would love to be part of that match. We used to talk back in the day about, if it worked out chronologically, we would have a retirement tour if we were both ready to retire at the same time, and go to all the different countries that we wrestled in before, like Japan and England and everywhere, of course, Australia. And it was an idea that seemed like it might be feasible like 10 years ago or whenever, maybe longer, but whenever we talked about that, because I just figured he would wrestle himself into the ground. And so since I'm a little bit younger, maybe it would just work out that way. But I don't see this being my retirement match if I am able to be part of it. But of course, I would be honored, thrilled. I hope that I am his opponent, and I'm really looking forward to him growing through this adventure, and us capturing it thanks to Joe Clark from Back Row Studios, who we've had on this show.
Yeah, friend of the show, Joe Clark. So
yeah,
pretty damn cool. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. And to see maybe that story get told for Sabu, and for fans to watch that's even better. And it will just really put a good big overall end cap on his career too, and his legacy.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to tell him too, he's come across in a positive way on the video clips that I've seen. Whereas in the past, sometimes he could open his mouth and get himself in trouble and rub people the wrong way sometimes, or whatever. It was refreshing for me to read all the comments and see a lot of people throwing him respect. And it was a video particularly of him talking about somebody beating their woman or something. Oh, he was talking about someone specific. You might have, I think it was a different video, and I don't want to say who it was about, but it was about a top guy, and he was saying to the guy's an abuser, but at first I'm like, oh no, don't bury yourself, Sabu, but. But he was just going on to say, hey, no matter what, you don't do that, and if you got to hit a woman, and boom, 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 you shouldn't do that, and I'd never hit a woman. And the things that he said were received well by the commenters, and they were like, man, Sabu seems like such a good guy and so respectable, and he's someone that stands by his morals, and it was good to read all that as opposed to some of the stuff that people that really didn't know him and were judging him off of the little info they did have on him, which sometimes did come out of his mouth. It's a pleasant change for the family.
Yeah, and there was like a small microcosm. Like, you're only getting a small sample. Like Sabu says, it doesn't necessarily mean that's who he is or anything like that. And it's just, yeah. And social media blows all that up too anyway. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Rumors that weren't true, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I thought he just came across really good, and the fans did too that wrote comments. So that was pretty cool. I'm gonna tell him that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this show has been a pretty cool lesson for if you guys go back and listen to some episodes and stuff like that. We always talk about Sabu on here, and it really, I think, it helped accentuate his legacy even more so, because we've talked about it before, how like under the radar he flies in a lot of ways and doesn't get the respect he deserves, and for what he's done for wrestling in so many cases.
He's happier right now. You feel good, you think good, you're feeling better. Did you know you can't think good thoughts and feel bad at the same time?
Oh, that's something to think about.
The same is true with the opposite. You can't think bad thoughts and feel good. So if you want to feel good, you got to quit thinking about those bad thoughts, because they dictate your vibration that goes through your entire soul. So if you want to feel good, you got to think good.
That's right. And even fake it till you make it. I know that's a fucking cliche thing to say a lot of the time, but it really holds true. If you just act like it does, things kind of balance out,
Sometimes that's a good one to go by.
Absolutely. Oh, we had another super chat here. Mr. Whisper. I wonder if he whispered this when he wrote it. Rob, you think you should finally unseat Roman Reigns? Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, among others, are all in the mix. Maybe even Jey Uso. When the time comes, who would you give the honor? So who would you want to take out after all those? Those are a lot of heavy-duty names right there.
They are. Well, I'm thinking it looks like the money's going to be with Roman Reigns as far as going for the payday. Randy Orton, I've wrestled him so many times. Had some great matches with him. But there was a point where it just seemed to me like it was like taking the pedigree every night. Like the office was punishing me for something. And even though I like Randy, I relate some of the nonstop, ongoing RVD versus Orton matches with Orton up, part of that punishment. Anyway, that'd be cool to work CM Punk. I haven't wrestled that dude in a single match. I think we're both in that elimination chamber. We might have kicked each other a couple times. I'm not really sure, but I like that.
That'd be good. Cody was the other one. Cody.
And Cody. That'd be awesome too. Mm-hmm. That'd be really, and I'm so glad to see Cody come up into the man that he is, after seeing him and trying to understand what that star face was.
Yeah, a Stardust.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just figured maybe he likes that and he's trying to get that over as an artist. I don't know if he was stuck with that or if that was his idea or what. I don't know, but either way, I don't mind telling you I didn't get it, and I didn't even know he existed before that. What? Goldie has a younger brother? I never heard that. Dusty has two sons, and
yeah.
So to see him go from there to being like the man of a company and CEO stock. You know what I mean? Like, pretty cool. He has to balance a lot of responsibilities to be Cody Rhodes, and probably a lot of stuff that a lot of people couldn't do. You know, obviously it's not easy to make it to that level. So I think that's awesome.
You know, there was a recent episode we did on Road Dogg where he was talking about being a babyface. And the aspect of, like, you think about Hulk Hogan was like, you know, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and like just the ultimate kind of good guy. And then like John Cena conveyed that in his hate, but then he got booed out of the building a lot of the times. He became so polarizing because people weren't looking for that. But now Cody Rhodes is kind of back in that kind of role where he's connecting with fans, hugging fans, going to be a best man at some fans' wedding, apparently, all that kind of stuff. You think that in a lot of ways that wrestling is cyclical when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, you get an anti-hero like Stone Cold Steve Austin that's a baby face, but then you go back down and then you get hit like Cena. They try to build it up for children. He gets booed. Boom, it goes. You go back to another anti-heel, and then here we hit Cody again. Is that kind of cyclical? And do you kind of understand? Do you appreciate the ultimate kind of baby face in that role, like of a Cody Rhodes, where he's doing that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, if you break it all the way down, it's pretty much good versus evil, you know, in its most basic form. That's the story. And it's the same story told through many different arts, but a lot of characters are different hybrids and different dominant or recessive in any of those qualities, in being a heel or a baby face. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know a lot of what they're doing with him right now. I just catch him, you know, a little bit here and there. I think he did a promo or something that I saw. So can't speak from seeing it and how I feel about what they're doing, but overall, it's great. You know, I'm a big fan of the genealogy, the hereditary fucking wrestler that passes from wrestler to wrestler that's inside of them. You know, when I first saw Tessa Blanchard, I was like, what? Oh, that's so cool. You know, and I thought she's, you know, and she's hot to look at, you know, look at her, and she's good. And I was entertained by her, and I was like, wow, that's so cool that's Tully's daughter and the whole family, you know, because the Blanchards obviously used to run, what was it? Was it San Antonio? No,
I think it's San Antonio.
Yeah,
I know Joe Blanchard and you know, obviously Tully and stuff like that. Yeah. I want to say it was San Antonio. That sounds right, Rob.
Yeah, because the Funks were Amarillo and the Von Erichs were Dallas.
Bosch was Houston.
That's it. So that leaves, no one cares about Austin, right?
No, hipsters do now.
So yeah, I think it's really cool. Just, I guess, you know, which is basically what they're pushing right now is the bloodline, and that's what I'm saying is it's cool too. It's cool that Randy's a third generation wrestler. A lot of these guys, you know, I wrestled with their dads, some of their grandpas or whatever that are in the ring now, you know, and so that's always cool. I think because I wasn't born in the business, you know what I mean? I was an outsider that dreamed of getting inside, and against all odds made it happen. And you know, I used to watch Jim Neidhart, and then to see Natty Neidhart, like, wow, that's so cool. And she looked so good.
Yeah.
Like, wow. It's like somehow I'm like proud of her just because I knew her dad, you know, and he would be proud of her too. But she's smoking. And anyway, Cody Rhodes, same thing. Everybody loved Dusty. He was one of the biggest stars ever. And especially in certain parts of the country, he probably definitely was the biggest star, and everyone remembers him and named their cats after him or whatever. And so I think it's pretty cool to be him in that spot, and then look at him and see a pretty cool character.
Right? Yeah. No, I named my cat after Dusty.
Did you?
Yeah, 100% I did. Yeah.
There you go.
So that's great. Funny story, real quick. I actually interviewed Dustin one time over the phone, and it was like over on the computer and stuff, but it was on the phone. And my cat Dusty just like gorged himself and ate a whole bunch of food at the time. And as I'm doing the interview, Dusty, my cat, is sitting on the windowsill as I'm talking to Dustin, and Dusty just pukes all over the place because he gorged himself. What are the odds? Like, I named my cat after this guy, and here I'm interviewing his son at the same time. So,
wow. Did you tell him?
Did I throw up? No, I didn't throw up.
Did you tell him?
No, I didn't. I kayfabed it completely. I didn't say it. I didn't let him know anyways. If I see him, if I meet him in person, I'll tell him. I'll tell him my cat threw up.
There you go. You got to have a plan.
That's right. That's right. All right. So what I kind of wanted to do this week is pretty 30 years since Royal Rumble 1994. And I've seen a lot of podcasts this week kind of announcing, hey, we're covering Royal Rumble 1994. We're going to talk about this. Well, I think what we're going to do, we're not going to cover the matches. That's kind of, been there, done that. But I think what we'll do is I'll go over some of the matches and some of the Royal Rumble entrants. And if you have, this can be pretty rapid fire too, Rob. You don't got to spend a lot of time on it if you don't want to.
Okay. People tell me that on every interview I do, and my mouth doesn't seem to know what short answers mean, but I'll try.
That's okay. If you got something to tell, go for it. But
I got a lot of knowledge to share, Dom.
I know you do, and feel free to do it. Hey, Rob, this is your show,
I'll try.
Hey, Mr. Whisper follows up real quick with the super chat. Rob, one of the leaked ideas for Dark Side of the Ring Season 5 is apparently Mike Awesome. Any thoughts on this? A Mike Awesome Dark Side of the Ring, Rob. What would you think of that?
I think it would be great. My thoughts on that are that it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to them about it. I would have been a big part of it. Mike was my road wife for a while in 2001, maybe 2002. We traveled together, he and I, and Sean Stasiak. When Sean Stasiak was on the road, for some reason, sometimes I guess we were split up between Raw and SmackDown back in the day on different shows. But me and Mike traveled together. I knew him very well from spending so many hours with him and stuff. And so I was very happy to hear from Dark Side of the Ring when they wanted to know if I would be willing to talk to them. Absolutely. I feel like get Mike's story out, that's what immortalizes us. And for celebs, a lot of people that want to be celebs anyway and don't just stumble upon it, that's kind of the goal, isn't it? To if you're building your fan base, you're building your fame. That's increasing your stature, right? And thereby in your profession, your value goes up. His wife didn't quite feel the same way. So, as I understand it, Mike Awesome's ex-wife, put the kibosh on the whole project. And I was very bummed to hear that because, like I said, without that, it's just like bury him and forget about him. You know what I mean? And personally, I know that he missed his kids so much. Can't believe he hung himself and would do that to his kids. But he used to love his kids, miss his kids all the time. Not his wife so much. And he would be very upfront about that, and I would poke him and grill him, ask him some questions, and he misses kids. And he uses his nose like a dog. Like, I don't know many other people to do that, but he would always talk about, I can't wait to get home and hug my kids and smell them. I love smelling them and smell if they've been playing outside or it's the laundry and that was just something that I thought was peculiar about Mike, and that he didn't miss his wife at all. So I don't know what happened, but the only thing I can imagine that makes sense, and I'm not one to assume as per RVDology, but obviously Mike and his wife were in a bad fight, going through a divorce. She obviously was going to take the kids from him, which was the one thing that he could not live without. So he hung himself.
Man, that's heavy stuff.
And so I feel like if they were if the relationship was heavy there and they were fighting, throwing cups at each other, imagine just to be able to snuff out that cigarette. If you look at it that way, you know what I mean? Like there's that red ember of his story, you know, blow on it, it might flame up. It'll keep going a little bit longer, but to just snuff it out, you know, and say, no, thank you. Boom. Screw him. And I feel like that's what happened. Because if you're looking for his best interest, of course he would want his story told.
Sure.
We all would. I mean, most of us, you know, I mean, there's exceptions always, and we'll talk about that sometime, but that's how I see it. That was just one more chance for her to get the final fuck you. Yeah. And so I don't think we're going to see that episode.
That's a bummer, because to what you were saying too, it's like you think about Mike and like those heavy hitting matches he had with like Masada Tanaka and like just all of those, and the legacy he kind of left for himself as an ECW champion, being that dominant and like just he was a money kind of guy, you know what I mean? Where it was just that kind of aspect, and like a generation is not going to know about him like up front, you know, where it's like, hey, who's Mike Awesome? Oh, I have to look back to hear about him. And this would have been a way to convey who Mike was to a new generation of people. And then
absolutely, like, yeah, it immortalizes. When you're on TV, that thing will be watched forever and ever. You know, they're still watching my matches from the 90s, and they're surprised when they see me and I'm older. Like, what happened to RVD? I just saw him wrestle Axel Ryan last night. You know, but what else did I want to say? Shit.
Just like him having a lasting impact with Dark Side, it just being a big thing for him, like having it, just getting his story again.
I was just gonna add that the last time I talked to him, well, you know, we did the one night stand, so he was a big part of that with Tanaka. When we went to do part 2, the big RVD and John Cena match, I was reaching out to some talent, and I was talking to Mike during that time. Mike was selling real estate, and he said he was small. I think he might have said 230 pounds. It's hard to believe. And he wasn't lifting weights. He was just like riding a bike now. Didn't seem thrilled about trading in the life of a pro wrestling superstar for trying to live on the commission of selling houses, probably wearing a suit, for sure fighting with his wife during this time. That was the last time I talked to him, was, hey, we're going to do it again, dude. You know, we're going to make this an annual event, one night stand. And he's like, are you sure? Because I have to know, you know, I have to have at least 2 months notice, because, and that's when he said, you know, I'm like 230 pounds. Like I have to put on, you know, a good 40 pounds before I can do that match. And I need some serious time to get myself big again. And you may have Paul call me and tell me for sure if he wants me on it. And that was like the last conversation I had. He was sending me some information on some real estate in Florida that I was interested in possibly investing in. And it was the day after he died that I got that last email from him. And I was like, how could he have sent that? And then I realized it was like an automatic kind of thing from his office or from his program that he had sent to me. So I was obviously like on a mailing list or something, but it came from him. And I thought that was spooky. And knowing him like I did, you know, I couldn't see him hanging himself. He was a happy guy, but his perspective obviously changed a lot since the last time I saw him and when he committed suicide. Oh,
man. Yeah, it's tough. Oh, man. And yeah, Mike was just, I loved him. Like, he was awesome. No pun intended. He was awesome.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, no, if you guys have some stuff to share about Mike Awesome, feel free to comment and leave us something about it because he was super duper cool. All right, let's talk about a little bit of a Royal Rumble 1994 here. It actually started off in a dark match. The dark match was the Brooklyn Brawler defeated Jim Powers. Rob, do you have any stories on the Brooklyn Brawler by chance? Or Jim Powers?
Well, I don't think that I've ever met Jim. If I have, then I just shook his hand once, maybe in passing, but I did like watching him and Brian Blair when I grew up and was wanting to be a wrestler. The Killer Bees were very cool, top babyface at that time. I feel like I might have met him, but I don't know. But I feel like I know him just from a little bit, just from him doing, it was like I don't know exactly what it's called, Behind the Territories or something like that. And
Beyond the Territories is one of those things?
And there's a round table, and it was, yes, and he was with Ken Patera, DDP. Anyway, so I don't have any stories about him, but as far as Brooklyn Brawler, super guy, like he's so nice. He's like, every time I see him, he gives me a big hug. Oh man, I love you. I love you. It gives me like a really big hug, and he's legitimately happy and excited to see me, which is a way different and warmer and authentic greet than a lot of us give each other when we do the bro hug and good to see you, bro. Hey man, hey, how you doing? I mean, that's usually what you get because we see each other all the time, and I'm not very dramatic anyway, but I am always happy to see him because he comes at me with that vibe. And him and Downtown Bruno were producers, I guess, during the time when I was with WWE. So they would run around and grab us and say, hey, we need you to stop in and do some promotions for these towns or whatever when you can. And okay, cool. And things like that. Like when talent needed to do something besides wrestling, whether it was for a sponsor or whatever, they were those guys would be there for that. Always got along with both of them. Bruno I knew since Tennessee, 1991 Memphis days. So I go way back with him. And Bruno, just saw him recently Steve Lombardi, just saw him recently at a convention, and he's awesome. The only bad thing I can say about him is that he said, hey, I know you're not with her anymore, but me and my wife still pray for your ex-wife. I said, stop doing that.
You don't need to.
Stop it.
That's not necessary. It's okay. Thanks.
Thank you for laughing at that. I feel like some people might be offended. If that was blasphemous, sacrilegious, whatever.
I think you're right.
I wasn't going to apologize. I was just wanted to say I realized that it could be taken that way. That's all.
Yeah, you don't got to pray. It's okay. All right. I believe match number 2 here was somebody you're familiar with. Bam Bam Bigelow lost to Tatanka. Any stories on Tatanka, Rob?
Okay. You'll like this one.
Okay.
None of these stories are known by anybody, I don't think, that I do on these podcasts, that I even do on my RVDology, on my standalone. All right, anyway, boom. So I met Tatanka in 1991, as a matter of fact, shortly after I met Downtown Bruno in Memphis, because I was in USWA doing their weekly loop for a little bit in the summer. And then after that was used up, I called Ron Slinker, who I'd met at USWA, who I would eventually travel down to Florida and start the ICW with and get Rob Van Dam, all that. But said, hey, what the hell? We're done with our programs here. How's Florida looking? And he's like, oh, I'm not quite ready yet. I need a couple more weeks. He said, here, call my friend Manny Fernandez in South Carolina. He's starting up this promotion, or he's got, South Atlantic Pro Wrestling. So I drove my illegal ass uninsured Ford Mustang that was held together by coat hangers with like $100 in my pocket. And I drove from 18 years old. What did I just say? No, 89, 91. I guess I was gonna be 20. Wait, in 90, this is 91. So I guess I am 20. Not old enough to drink anyway. Not old enough to drink. I'm a kid from my experiences. Very inexperienced. But anyway, hey baby. I had a 2-day adventure getting there. My car broke down, all this stuff. And anyway, South Atlantic Pro Wrestling was based out of Charlotte. And at this time, Manny Fernandez was the booker. They had some future stars like Vince Torelli, who would later be Ken Shamrock.
Oh.
Yeah, jacked. He was a badass. Everyone told me what a badass he was. You know, they said that he had won the last 5 Tough Man contests in a row there. And Manny Fernandez is one of those guys that has reputations. Him and Dick Murdoch used to get in fights with like legendarily, like bars full of patrons and stuff. And, those kind of back in the old days. So anyway, Manny is known to be pretty tough. And everyone told me when I first started there that Vince Torelli had jacked Manny up against the wall in an argument, and that Manny was scared. And that he'd won the last contest. And I was watching him jump up and down, warming up before his match. And he was like jumping like 4.5 feet straight up. And I was like, wow, what an athlete. And he was wrestling a guy that would be eventually Tatanka named Chris Chavis. Oh. Yeah. And so Vince Torelli versus Chris Chavis was the matchup, and that was what I saw on the road for the short time that I was there for my first stint in South Atlantic Pro Wrestling. After a couple of weeks, I ended up going home. I ended up coming back after Greg Price took it over, and I was already living in Florida, blah, blah, blah. But while I was there during this time, South Atlantic Pro Wrestling office was at this real estate place, and Manny Fernandez called a meeting for the talent. So us wrestlers are all in this office, and Manny is pissed because something happened the night before that wasn't good for the business. And there was a nightclub called, I think it was called Plum Cherries. Or maybe just Plum, but I think it was called Plum Cherries. Dude, this was so long ago. Give me a break if I'm a little off.
Yeah, 91's a long time ago.
Either Plum or Plum Cherry. And anyway, the boys would go there and hang out. And the night before, there was a fight there. And one of the guys got carried out by the bouncers, and Manny was pissed. He was pissed. And this is a difference between how the business used to be in the safe, work-friendly environment that it is now with the politically correct and the equal opportunity. And this was a different world back then, all right? And so he was pissed because the guy was his champion that got carried out by the bouncers, and that was Chris Chavis, who is also Tatanka. And Manny told all of us, he was screaming, like, how is that going to be my world champion when he's seen being carried out by 4 bouncers? What kind of world champion is that? How am I going to make money with him now? He said, and he told all of us, he said, you don't ever let them carry you out. He said, I don't care if it's your fault, how many of them are, you're going to go out swinging. You go out swinging and take as many of them with you. And so, that's my Chris Chavis Tatanka story. He had heat. I don't know who he got in a fight with. Some mark, I think, someone that wasn't in the business. And I don't know if they literally carried him, horizontally, or if it was just, dragging him by his arms. But either way, Manny, just like other old schoolers told me back there in the day, that was the way the business was. Like, if you got seen carried out, you might get your ass beat in the dressing room the next day.
Right. I think about the Mafia too, or you can watch The Sopranos and that scene where Johnny Sacks got arrested or something and he started crying and everybody's like, what the fuck, he's crying? And then he got whacked on. You don't want that to happen. All right. The next match up, it was the Quebecers. They defeated Bret Hart and Owen Hart for the WWF Tag Team titles. Pierre and Jacques, along with Johnny Polo, someone who would we know later on as Raven. Any stories about Pierre, who is now PCO, or Jacques of the Quebecers there, Rob?
Not on Pierre, but on Jacques, in also 91, but before earlier in the year, I guess, I was living in Tampa, WWE. No, this was after because I'm already in Florida. Anyway, WWE's coming through. Pat Tanaka was office at the Sportatorium, and he was going to get a lot of the local guys that were up and coming jobs as enhancement talent, which is the way the business was back then. A big superstar against a jobber, or two superstars against two jobbers in tag matches. And it was an opportunity to get exposure, be on TV, blah, blah, blah. And they came through, and a bunch of the guys that I was training with and working with got on. I didn't. Okay. But Pat Tanaka said, I'm sorry about that. I know I told you I didn't put your name on the list. And he said, they told me, me and Sandy Beach, there's two. So one of the Sandy Beaches, if you guys drive up to Mobile, Alabama, and do the next couple of days, they'll put you on there. And they said, and I was like, well, anyway, Sandy, he wanted to drive up there. They said, even if, we'd get paid for showing up, which the first day they didn't have a match for me and I got paid and I was stoked. One, because it was a good payday, $150 to do nothing, when at the Sportatorium, it would have taken me almost 5 weeks to make that $30, $30 to $35 a week on Thursdays. And so that's why I was there. I didn't want to be seen doing a job as RVD, which I'd only been for a few months, but I had a little momentum going. I was being pushed as this star. I'd been in the magazines, so I tried to change my look as much as possible. Instead of having my hair back, I dried it out, let it come down. I wore my volleyball knee pads, white boxer boots, blue wrestling shorts that the Sheik gave me. Those were the first wrestling trunks I ever got. I wonder where the hell they are. Oh, I think I know where they are. Anyway, and I called myself Matt Byrne, right? Didn't have the match for me the first time I got paid. They said, come tomorrow, because it was a place that was a few hours away. And the next day, I wrestled the Mountie, Jacques Cousteau. And I wore a shirt also, just trying to change my look up and be not Rob Van Dam. And after the match was Jacques, I came walking through the gorilla, and as I made it through, I heard some noise behind me, like a little commotion amongst the agents or whatever. And that Gorilla Monsoon came out, starts walking after me. He's like, what? And he's coming after me. He goes, hey, you didn't wear that shirt during the match, did you? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, what? Why would you do that? Oh. because we might not be able to use that footage now. We might have to redo that match. Why would you wear a shirt to go out there and wrestle instead of showing your body? Why would you want to do that? And I didn't want to tell him because I'm Rob Van Dam, a huge, a huge future superstar, and I don't want people to see me do a job. You know, I was just like, I don't know. I was like, oh, and he's like, we'll stand by. We might have to do it again. And I was just like, damn, I fucked up. But also, I didn't redo that. But a little later, they came up and gave me another match, and this one was a handicap match. So now I got to be seen on TV doing a job with somebody else, 2 against 1. But it was with Sid Justice. At least he's a giant, and it was me and this dude Scott Casey. And anyway, boom, let's go full circle here. Sid at that time was now I got 2 matches, so I got paid twice. Sid was managed by Bruno Harvey Wimpleman, who I told you that I knew from Memphis, right? I already knew him. So he introduced me to Sid. And so I think that that's probably why Sid was so cool to me at that time. And after the match, he came up to me in the dressing room and he said, "Hey man, I just want to thank you for what you guys did for me out there." And he said, I know it don't feel too good getting beat, 2-on-1 and on TV or whatever, but I just want you to know, like what you did, like you helped elevate me from here to up here, and that's what I want to be, because I want to wrestle Hulk Hogan. And then he pulled out $20 and he gave it to me. He said, "I know this ain't much, but hopefully this will help get you down the road." And I was like, whoa, cool. Wow, I don't know if I've ever had a wrestler tip me since then like that anyway. But that was a story I got to throw on there again. And I think it was because I knew Harvey Wimpleman and he introduced us. So maybe Bruno told him I was cool or something. I don't know. But Casey also did say that he gave him the 20 as well. So if you don't hear enough good stories about Sid, there's one for you.
I like it. My brother will like that too. He loves Sid. You know what? And also, what was I going to say about Sid? Shit, I lost it. It'll come back to me. But yeah, I like Sid a lot. That's awesome. And Matt Byrne, what a name. That's a great name.
Yeah.
All right. This one I'm intrigued by, Rob, because I know you've mentioned him before. And I think he's been on an RVDology of yours in the past, but he happens to be my favorite wrestler. And the reason I got into wrestling overall is, and you had an interesting story regarding him. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon took on IRS. Feel free. What is that story that you have of Scott? I know it was a kind of like a tense situation maybe or something, just from what I gathered. I don't even know, but what was it about?
There wasn't any tense situations. There was a few times, I don't think I've talked about it, where he was annoying me, like maybe I was outside getting ready to light one up, and him and X-Pac came out to do the same damn thing. And then he's like, oh, hold on. Hey, Robbie's a stooge. I don't know why he called me Robbie, but that was his name for me. And he would be, oh, wait, Robbie's a stooge, man. And he would say it joking sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he also did that for real one time, because one time he was asking me if I had any weed. I was like, yeah, I was actually about to go out and smoke. He's like, oh my God, that'd be so good. And I'm like, are you smoking now? Because I can't remember. It was some event. I don't even know what event it was, but he goes, yeah. And he goes, oh my God, you don't mind? I go, no, I'm going out right now. You want to go now? And he was like, he goes, yeah, let's go. And I walk out there and there's nobody behind me. Walked all the way out there, smoked it. He never came out. And then I heard from somebody later, I think it was X-Pac, but I'm not sure. Had to have been though, that he was paranoid that I was gonna tell on him or that I was in part. So there was little feelings like that, There was things that nobody else would know. Like when I was, I've been gone for a long time, and then I came back to when was that? Maybe it was, I don't know. One of the times after I left for a long time, I came back. It was probably a Hall of Fame thing.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been even the same Hall of Fame thing. I don't know. I just remember, like, I used to talk to Paige a lot. You know, we used to have a good relationship, and she was like one of my closer friends there because I'm, you know, usually a loner, and I would usually talk to her, and I liked her, and I was looking forward, you know, to seeing her, you know, and I was happy to see her, but this motherfucker was right there, being annoying. You know, and say, hey, RVD, you know, she's like a daughter to me. So, hey, Robbie, you know, if you just so you know, and I was like, and I kept trying to talk to her, but he was in that moment.
Yeah.
In that moment, he was like annoying in my face or whatever. And I actually said, and I said to her, I said, do you want him here? Because if you don't, I'm going to throw him over the railing right now. We were like on the second story, and I 100% was going to throw him, you know, off. And she said, don't, I guess. But there's been moments like that, several of those that I've never talked about. So, you know, we weren't tight. I didn't hate him. Sometimes he was annoying, you know. Another time we were at that Japanese restaurant by Universal Studios where TNA used to put us all up there at the DoubleTree, and one of the only choices to eat in the parking lot was this Japanese restaurant. I was there, and X-Pac, and Scott came in, and I think he just wanted to poke at me, you know, like he would do that, and it was kind of funny, but to an extent, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He would just be, I can't remember what all he was saying or whatever. And at first, I was just trying to get a reaction, and first it was a little bit funny, like whatever, and he kept doing stuff, and then I think he could see that I was getting mad, and like he said something, and I didn't give it an obligatory smile, you know what I mean? Like maybe I just looked at him or something and looked down, something to the effect where he grabbed Sean, and he goes, "Oh, Sean, hold me back right now, bro." And I was just like, I'm not gonna laugh at that. I'm not gonna, you know. He's annoying me. I'm trying to eat my fucking miso soup.
Just give him a miso.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of moments like that, and you know, the last time that I saw him shortly before he died, we were in England for the Love of Wrestling convention.
Uh-huh.
I tell you, this weed just kills my memory. I can't remember anything. That's sarcasm.
Right. I know you're like pulling stuff out of thin air here.
But I sat with him at the bar for a little bit for the first time, and I told the story of that on an RVDology, and that's what you're referring to, because he said, Robbie, you know, me and you haven't really like hung out and had a beer like this, you know, like we never really got to know each other. And I'm like, cheers, bro, you know. And then he was just in one of those darker moods, I think. I could, you know, he had a dark vibe, and anyway, he was like Robbie, he always called me Robbie. Don't know why. Johnny Ace, same thing. There's a few people. Mike Lazansky used to do that I don't know why, but anyway, there's some people who just call me Robbie, and Scott Hall would do that, and he was like, do you know my story, Robbie? Like, do you know what I did? And I was just like, me? Not really. I was right next to him, you know, and I was just thinking, you're trying to pull me into a dark pit that I don't want to go into, you know. And I just said, yeah, I think I got the story, Scott. You know, I think so. And I just felt like he's punishing himself because he felt guilty for killing that guy.
Right. Yeah.
I always felt that, but I mean that's exactly what his vibe was saying, you know. And when I did my story on Instagram, RVDology about it, some of the fans were upset because they forget. To me, he's a peer of mine that I work with. I don't see him like a fan looks up to the wrestlers as a higher form of life. So I was giving an objective perspective of what it was like interacting with him.
Sure, yeah.
How can you fault me on that? That's what it was like. In the comments anyway, one of those fans that didn't like it said something about, you know, he had no choice, but he had to kill a guy, and it haunts him, and you know, you shouldn't talk bad about the deceased and whatever, you know. I mean, I addressed that in RVDology too. Like, I don't mind. I mean, you know, if there's somebody that you don't respect, then why are you going to show them respect? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that about Scott, but I'm just saying as a rule to live by, I don't believe in that, like, no matter what. Like, really? The guy was a pedophile, not Scott, again, using an example. Dude, the guy was a murderer. He fucking killed and raped a bunch of women, you know, killed and buried the children and stuff, and then the police shot him. And you're going to say, I should never talk bad about the dead? Come on, man. Fuck that guy. You know, so anyway, everything's circumstantial, which is the RVDology perspective. And somebody had said that, and my first thought was, which is what I wrote, was, you think he had no choice? I've never, ever heard that. I've heard the story told by him in different interviews. I've never taken that perspective where I felt like he had no choice but to shoot the guy. You know, and I think that would be some extra heavy guilt, knowing you didn't have to shoot him.
If it weighs on like that kind of stuff, I mean, I can't speak from experience whatsoever, but geez, to be in that situation and what happened is like, oh my God, it's like that has to weigh on you, you know, it's got to weigh on you.
Just taking a life would weigh on someone that has a conscience, you know, but even, you know, if you had to do it, it'd be a lot easier to accept that if you had a choice. And when you play that back in your mind, you think, wow, I didn't have to. I got the gun from him. I didn't have to fucking put it in his chest and shoot him. He was already on the ground under me. I chose to do that. Because of that, boom, he's no longer alive. His kids have no dad, whatever. Just saying as an example. And yes, about Scott, I'm saying I've never heard a story where my perspective was that he had no choice. So, if you automatically just heard it different than I did, maybe give that a thought.
Right. It's like, and that's the aspect is like nobody, like what you hear, you know, nobody was, I don't know all the details about it either, but it's just like from that aspect is like, it's just a tough, difficult situation, and to be in that moment and to have, you know, to feel like you needed to do it or whatever it may be, it's crazy. Like, it's difficult and weigh on somebody's mind for a long time. And for him to bring it up to you at that point, you know, it's always been an aspect that's really bugged him for his life. And
yeah, you know, unless they're psychopathic, like when you think about the mobsters that kill their best friends by setting them up, taking them out all night to gain their trust, and then they're going to go pick a third guy up that's going to sit in the back seat and blow his head off, and then just go on and continue partying afterwards. Those guys wouldn't feel like Scott. So that tells me that Scott does have a conscience, and he does have empathy. And that's good, because as I've said many times, I think the majority of basic thinkers don't have the ability to, or at least the perspective of empathy.
Right. And you hear stories from Kevin too, like talking about how generous Scott was when he'd see somebody, you'd just give him money right away and stuff like that. And just be different aspects. And I know from a fan experience, like, I got to meet him several times as a fan, and like he's super nice and like thoughtful and nice. But yeah, like I've heard points too where it's like there'd be moments where it'd be like, oh man, Scott's in a dark place, and it's just a different person at that point in time too. And like the ending was pretty sad from what I heard and everything like that. So yeah, but no, thanks for sharing that. I was always curious about it, and I was like, when he was on this match, I was like, well, I guess I could bring it up here and see.
Yeah, when you think about it, the Razor Ramon character, if that's based on Al Pacino and Scarface, think about. You've seen Scarface, right?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. How many people did I can't remember the character's name right now, Al Pacino. How many people did he mow down?
Tony Montana. Yeah.
What was it?
Tony Montana.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Tony Montana. How many people did he murder in that movie? Like 300, and it ain't haunting him. You know what I mean? Like So that's interesting. Just as he plays the bad guy, but probably there must have been a good guy in there. Absolutely. Otherwise, he wouldn't give a fuck like a lot of people don't.
Right. Yeah.
They just worry about getting themselves out of trouble, and then boom, on to the next one.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Interesting, Rob. All right. What I had next was the Royal Rumble itself, because the other people we've kind of shared your relationships with already on this point. Two people that entered 1 and 3 in this Royal Rumble were the Steiner brothers, Rob, both Michigan boys. You actually shared a room with Scott 2 nights at StarCast 6, whatever it was, when you're in Chicago.
Yes, so, I did.
Any interesting Steiner brothers stories?
And that room also had who else in it? Nash?
No, Danhausen, right? Was that the Danhausen?
Yeah, yep. And Danhausen said, hey, we're all from Michigan.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so geez, I was there. That's the one you were talking about. And it was like, we're trying to figure out last week who it was, and we thought it was Darby.
Yeah, I got them mixed up.
Yeah. I got it mixed up too.
Yeah, I guess I figured it out after the show. I thought we figured it out.
Yeah, we figured it out. Somebody chimed in on the chat.
So who are we talking about now, though? Who's our guy?
Steiner brothers.
Man, they've always been super cool to me. I don't know if it's because I'm from Michigan as well, but they had a reputation before I was actually physically introduced to them, and I would watch them on WCW, and it looked like they just manhandled the jobbers and threw them around at will, however they wanted to. And I just thought that, wow, that's really cool. And also, Scott wasn't Scott wasn't as jacked back then, and he would do a couple things, like he would do a drop kick into a backflip. Yep, and he would also grab the guy and do the backflip into a moonsault, which was really cool, and that caught my attention. And then he became Freakzilla. But I remember meeting those guys in Georgia at an independent show in Cordele City. Ben Masters is the wrestling promoter. I do have a photo of said event. Hey, is there a place either on our YouTube or on Premier Network where, like, when I'm telling these stories, I could be like writing down, like, get that photo. If there was, I don't know. What would we do with it?
Yeah, I could try to find a timestamp or something like that too.
I don't know.
Timestamp and stuff.
Anyway, I mean, I don't know why would you have a gallery on YouTube? You only do videos, right? But I don't know. Anyway, so I remember meeting them and getting a picture of them, and them telling them, that I'm from Battle Creek too. And of course, I had my mullet back then, because this is 93, maybe 92 or 93, in that time period. So much like the Robbie V version of me that you saw in WCW, because it was somewhere around that time period. And they both always have been really cool to me. And sometimes, I wondered if it was getting tested when I would wrestle Scott a lot, and a lot of times when the office, would say me up, me up, me up, me up, me up. I was like, man, I wonder if that's bothering him. You know what I mean? Because it's not something personal, and it shouldn't be, but it's business for everybody. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And to me, it felt weird because I looked up to him.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Next up, who came out? I'm like almost doing the countdown in my head. Oh, here's an interesting one. Number 4, Huang. Also, we know him better as Savio Vega. Any Savio Vega stories, Rob?
I have 0 Savio.
0 Savio, really? Okay.
Yeah, we're not in the same place at the same time.
Wow. Okay. Super nice guy. I've interviewed him once, and he's a lot of fun.
Might have met him at a convention once in passing, and that would be my only story. So
How about that? Yeah. No, he's a super nice dude. But all right, number 6, entering at number 6. I wonder if you have any cross through over with this guy. It is Bart Gunn. Did you ever interact with Bart Gunn, Rob?
Ooh, did I ever? So I've known Mr. Bart Gunn, and also, what's Mr. Ass's name? Wait, don't tell me. Yeah, tell me.
Sorry.
Not Grumpy Face. That guy, what is his name? Mr. S.
Billy Gunn.
Yeah, okay. So Bart Gunn and Billy Gunn. Okay. Back in the same days, this is 1990. It's either like December 90 or the beginning of 91. More likely the beginning of 91. Definitely 91. And I'm in Florida. Oh, and I start wrestling for Eddie Mansfield, who has TV at Universal Studios. I've done TV for South Atlantic Pro Wrestling also. So the IWF would be my second. No, I did TV at USWA too. Dude, I'm all over the TV already, and I'm green as grass. Not the good purple grass, but just out of the dirt. Brand new.
Out of the dirt one.
Brand new grass. Anyway, so I met those guys working for Eddie Mansfield back then. They were the Long Riders, and they were one of Eddie's top tag teams, and they would wrestle against Thunder and Lightning, which are 2 big jacked up guys. And so I've known him since then. Known Bart since 91, and I did do at least one tour in Japan with him for Baba, for All Japan as well.
Yeah, he was pretty notable for. I know he worked All Japan before, and that's pretty fascinating.
Something I'll remember. I have like maybe a whole book of just weird things that I remember that would always be triggered when I think about certain people, and it's random. Like I'll always remember Test telling me when I was remodeling my house that I need to get the automatic trash compactor. It'll save me so many trips to the garbage. I'll always remember that, and I have a whole bunch of those like that.
Yeah.
And one of them is just I'll always remember that watching Bart brush his teeth before his matches. Not everybody does that, it's very courteous.
Yeah, it is courteous.
Yeah, and that's something that stuck out, and it's awesome that he won the tough and brawl for all.
Yeah.
So I always will have mad respect for him for that.
Now, did you when you saw that he won? Were you like, oh wow, I could have definitely seen that, or like, were you caught off guard that he won the whole thing?
I think that it was spoiled for me before I saw it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Number 8. This is an interesting one too. Is Mr. Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund. He was a hero.
Well, I know Bob through a mutual friend, and so most of my experiences with Bob are from seeing him at conventions, maybe a Hall of Fame. Didn't work with him, but I was always one of his reputations that people in the dressing room know him for is that he was always working out, staying fit, and Impact down there. I've heard this story a few times on how they wanted to film him. He does this thing, and maybe he marketed it, but he had a little thing that was a box, and it was a whole workout gym because you could do steps on the box. I think there might have been an ab wheel inside of it, and anyway, this was the Bob Backlund box, and they wanted him to, or the idea was for him to be doing like 300 because that's his workout, doing 300 steps. And he insisted that he does the whole thing, and they're trying to say, no, just, we can shoot you starting, and then we'll just shoot the end. And for him, he had to do all 300. And even though, they were like, but the video's not going to be that long, so I always think of that. And then I use that as a workout model too. Like I do steps on my sauna, and I got to at least do the Bob Backlund 300 in order to give myself credit for hitting cardio that day. But I don't know if he did it. I don't think he did it in the sauna, but he might not have been extreme anyway. But he's had me in his chicken wing at a convention before. That's great. Is he shoots on and stretches all the fans at the conventions, and they love it. They ask for it. They have chicken wing and pull their face back and scream at him, "Is this what you wanted?" He's nuts. But I don't think that, from what I understand anyway, he might not be at more conventions because I think that he is in a deteriorating state of mind.
Oh, interesting.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he came a couple years ago to Pittsburgh. I got to meet him and stuff, and he's a very nice dude. But
fun guy.
Fun dude. Number 10 to enter is Virgil. Did you meet him mostly through conventions, or did you know him beforehand, Rob? Virgil?
Well, silly. I actually remember seeing Virgil that time I kissed Ted DiBiase's foot.
Oh, geez, yes.
Yeah, so that's 85, 86, whatever.
Yeah, wow, okay. Mm-hmm. There's also a picture of you online backstage or at something with WCW because he's got the NWO shirt on. You have a Ghost Rider shirt on, I saw.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When did I get to know him? You know what? It was the group out here in Las Vegas when the NWC that I've talked about, that Buffalo Bill, who was killed by the mobsters, used to run. That's Unsolved Mysteries, October 2023 season, titled Death in a Hotel. Check it out. It was for that. It's called NWC, and Virgil used to come out for that, and I got to know him there. And also, I don't remember it, but he was at what would have been one of my first 4 matches. It was in, I think, it was either Pennsylvania or it was Wheeling, West Virginia. I thought it was Pennsylvania, but anyway, it was the sadistic Dr. Sam Siegel was the promoter. I think this was my second match, actually.
Really?
So, yeah, it was so early in my career. And Sabu was talking to Virgil. And so after Virgil was on TV, Sabu would tell us, "You don't remember him?" And he's like, he said he was telling us he's going to WWF. And he said, "I thought he was full of shit." And he said that Virgil had suits like on hangers, and he was like showing them off or whatever, hanging them in the dressing room that night, which is funny because we dressed in like a little trailer. The heels came out one side, babyface out of the other, like a little Well, I remember it being like a 15-foot trailer, not a really big one. So I guess he was there too, though, according to Sabu, and he said he wasn't full of shit. So he's been around. I guess, as far as funny story goes, you're not going to beat me kissing Ted DiBiase's foot.
Yeah,
and then,
top that.
And then slapping Virgil's shoulder. Hey, bro, I saved you guys a lot of money by being a shitty negotiator.
That's right.
Make Virgil out, get him something nice to eat, Ted.
I'm a horrible haggler.
Right. That extra $300, $400, $500 I could have got by saying no, instead of dropping down on the ground and sticking your toes in my mouth before you even mention the price. Hey, take some of that money. Take my man Virgil out here. Joe a burger down his throat.
That was an RVD, though. That was Matt Byrne, I thought, that did that.
That definitely was not RVD. You're right.
Yeah, I think it was Matt Byrne.
Yeah, they looked like, you know what? It was.
Right?
He just didn't know yet. He just didn't know yet.
Wasn't aware. Number 14 entered was Doink, also known as Matt Bourne. Any stories on Matt Bourne?
No, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
A polarizing figure backstage, apparently, from what you get.
Yeah, nothing firsthand I can share.
All right. Well, number 17, we got Mr. Spark Plug Thurman Hawley, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Known as Bob Hawley at this point, at this juncture. Any stories on Bob Hawley there, Rob?
I can't think of anything that would be interesting to talk about except for rehashing that time he was pissed off at Rene Dupree.
Yeah.
And he let everybody know. He let Renee know it's coming. He let all of us know that he was pissed. He said that he let Renee borrow his car to go to the gym, and that Renee got a parking ticket, and that he just tossed it and never said anything to Bob about it. So then Bob had to, on his days off, fly across the country and go to court and fight this, take care of it, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, Renee was like, no, I never saw it. I didn't know about it. And in Bob's mind, that was worthy of an ass beating. In his mind, he was positive that that was what that equaled, what it validated. So he was for sure going to do that. I don't know if Renee could have said anything. You know what I mean? Like, because I was trying to find out, like, is there anything he could say? And he's like, man, I had to go on my days off all the way to Ohio. He's like, fuck that. And he was determined, and Renee knew that it was coming. And Renee, being in the position of being very young in the business and knowing how the business works, and knowing that Bob is one of the enforcers of the wrestling codes, he wasn't gonna fight back. So it's not like it was a fight,
right?
But they put him in a tag match, and so Bob was like, "Yeah, we're tagging next week. You're dead." And I'm paraphrasing, but let him know it was coming and when it was coming. And so it was a sellout at the curtain, which is what we call it when everyone in the back is peeking through to watch. Yeah, and it was like I think that Kenzo Suzuki was in the match. I don't know. I think so. He had I think that was the nice partner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Bob would be working with that kid, and then if he would tag Renee in, Renee would come in, and Bob would just go to straight punches to the face, left, right, left, right, left, right, and then Renee would end up tagging out again, and then Renee would come in when whoever Bob's partner was, maybe it was Billy Gunn, I don't maybe, but either way, boom, as soon as Bob would get tagged in, boom, 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 every time, just straight faces, and Renee trying to do the respectful thing, the right thing, to not get himself more heat. He wouldn't fight back. And then eventually somebody won, the bell rang, and Renee got out of there, and speed walked his way to come back to the dressing room to get out of there because it was, it was a beating.
Right.
And it was only professional really on Renee's part, but it was old school mentality on Bob's, I guess, and that's how it works. But he came in because he was walking really, really fast, kind of like a jog, and he came in, and as soon as he came in, he like stopped, like to catch his breath. And I remember like Bob comes right in behind him, and I'm like, no, keep going, and Bob went whacked him with the chair in the back one more time. Bam! Renee went down from the chair shot, I believe, and sold it, and then Bob had enough, like he was like, like, okay, I did what I had to do. That seemed to be Bob's vibe. And I just remember like, no, turn around, don't stop.
Turn around, Renee.
Jeez.
Do you think did it get Bob any respect for Renee after that, or was it just like, all right, it's over and done with, and I don't want to deal with him anymore? Or
respect for Renee from Bob?
Renee for him just taking it and being like, that was what it was.
I don't have any reason to believe that it did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I don't believe so, and I think Bob got in a little bit of trouble for like, I don't know, a little suspension or something. But from hearing Renee's tell the story on his show, for instance, doesn't seem like they're buddies. You know what I mean? So, so it may have never been. It may have just became a professional relationship after that, which happens a lot when guys fight each other. They still got to work together.
Still got to work together, yeah. And you're just like, okay, well, this is a business. That's how it goes.
That's how it used to be.
Right. Mm-hmm. Number 20 was Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg the Hammer. Any stories on Greg the Hammer there, Rob?
I always forget that I think he lives like very close to me.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and I gotta try and find him sometime. But so I met Greg the Hammer Valentine. Oh, well, when I was a kid at WrestleMania 3 at the Pontiac Silverdome, I did have a sign I held up that said Greg the Hemorrhoid Valentine, which I guess I must have thought it was funny and that they were going to be able to see it from
way up.
Yeah, 8 miles away. But I worked with him for that South Atlantic Pro Wrestling that I had talked about before, but not the one that Manny Fernandez booked. But a while later, Greg Price took over the book. That's when I was living in Florida. And then Greg wanted me to come back up there because he saw a future star in me and wanted me to come back up there. And I started driving back and forth doing South Atlantic's shows and TV. And that was a big upgrade for me because my pay was quite a bit more because I was coming from further away. And during that time, I wrestled Greg Valentine quite a bit, 92, 93, maybe 94, maybe 95. In that window of time there, I wrestled him a lot, and I learned a lot from him. Those were the days when you didn't talk about a bunch of crap before the match, so I would be listening to him, and that would be hard sometimes because sometimes people have voices that that are hard to hear, hard to understand what they're saying or whatever. But I just remember with Greg, he was teaching me. I was what he was doing was making sense. You know what I mean? Like I was the baby face, and whatever, boom, duck clothesline, arm drag, another arm drag, hold the arm, boom. And it was just hearing it, doing it, being good enough to know what he's talking about. hearing the crowd react to the story that he just told, and boom. So I did tell him and Manny Fernandez, because I wrestled him a lot that same time.
Mm-hmm.
Put both of those guys over sometime in the last several years and said just what I'm telling you, that listening to those guys is what taught me a lot about wrestling.
When you work with somebody like Greg, is it like, does he make it easy, like for you to work with him, or is it like you're learning? It's challenging, but you're learning from him, or is it a little bit of both, Rob? When it comes to somebody like Greg, because you hear how good he is in the ring, basically.
Yeah, I mean, as I remember, he made it about as easy as it could be. Like just getting me into where we're on that common page, and I'm ready for whatever he wants me to do, whether it's I'm going to take it or give it. Either way, I don't know until I get the hang and work him a bunch of times and then figure out, okay, we keep going back to 2 arm drags and then hold the third one in an arm bar. So I get it. We keep going back to the arm drag, arm bar. Okay, now I'm doing a drop kick. Whoa, leapfrog, arm drag, hold this one. Okay, I get it. And it's like it's something that's not done a lot anymore, and I don't want to complain about the lost art, but it was something that was on the site training, on the job training. Like hearing the people react to it made it different than just doing 3 arm drags and an arm bar, because then it made sense. He's coming after me, trying to get me. I'm evading. I'm boom, quick enough to do it once. Boom, again, boom. This time I hold him down. And all of that wouldn't make sense to me as I'm doing it without the crowd letting me know how they feel about it.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So you got to be in tune and on the same page with the crowd and with him. And he was one of those guys during that time of my career.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. All right. This next two might be pretty interesting because they have some ties to All Japan. The Great Kabuki entered at number 22. Do you have any stories or experiences with the Great Kabuki?
I have none.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Now, I wonder if you have anybody with this. How about Tenryu from All Japan?
I think I've been in like maybe a 6-man with him or something, but I don't have any stories or any funny stories.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw Kabuki was trained by Bob. Oh, that might be interesting for Rob.
Thank you.
Crossover. Bless you. Yep. All right, we'll close out with him. This person, he was the co-winner of this along with Bret Hart, who we've talked about plenty of times on here. But Lex Luger. Any experiences with Lex Luger?
So I don't think that I met Lex back when I was in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know him if I did meet him, and I don't think he was on the cards at that time for whatever reason. But everyone in Atlanta, and we used to always, from the WCW guys, would all stay at the I think it was a Ramada down south of Atlanta that was called the Dungeon. That's because all the boys stayed there. That was where they got put up, where they lived when they were doing like the Peachtree tapings and everything in between. But anyway, who was the guy? He took him off already, or were we talking?
Lex Luger.
Okay, we knew that Lex and Sting owned the Main Event gym in Marietta, and that was like a place that the boys would try to go to work out because the wrestlers were there. And Scotty Riggs, who was a friend of mine, would go there and work out, and he became friends with them, with Sting and Lex and Bagwell, and I really didn't hang out with them, and I don't think that I actually met Lex until the last couple years, so after his whatever happened to him,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a stroke or an accident or whatever, but when I saw him, I think, you might have seen the video, and yeah, I think this is the first time I met him when you've seen this video where I'm standing next to Lex and I say, Rob Van, and then Ron Simmons goes, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the first time that I met Lex, was right then. And his laugh was so great, laughing at it.
He's a nice guy. They do on ad free shows, they do the Lex Express mailbag. And so it's kind of cool to get his perspective on stuff. So
Awesome.
Pretty neat. Well, cool. This was fun, Rob. Trying to think of couple super chats we had real quick before we close out. Let me pull them up here. Okay.
My filter in, like I'm not going to let the doobie go out while I'm talking anyway.
Right. Speaking of filters, Greg Jacobson, a friend of the Road Dog podcast, asked, did Rob ever smoke cigs at any point? Did you ever smoke cigarettes, Rob?
Never. No, I never did. And, a lot of you listeners might not travel, so you might be learning something here, but in Canada, and they also do this in the UK and in the United Kingdom, they like to mix the tobacco with the weed.
Oh,
yeah, it's very popular over there. Even in Amsterdam, like a lot of the people do that. And I used to like that. There was a particular place that used to be my favorite, so it's not there, called Funny People, and he would have the glass petitions set up for the people that want to add tobacco in it, so that the rest of the people could be, free and healthy. But a lot of the places are the opposite. So they say, if you don't want tobacco, you can go there. But that's because it's very, very popular. Anyone that smokes that's in Canada or the UK or Europe or anywhere around there, they know what I'm talking about. And every once in a great while, like say maybe it's been a few days and I'm with someone and they're smoking it, maybe I'll be like, yeah, let me see that thing. I can't handle it. My body rejects it like I'm trying to drink gasoline.
really?
I might think, maybe one toke, sounds nice. When it has tobacco in it, I'll be like, and I'm like pounding my chest like a gorilla, and it hurts, and my body just rejects it. And so I've never smoked a cigarette, and when it comes to those. Can't remember exactly what they call them, spliffs or whatever. I can't take those down either. And I'm reminded of that like every few years or they won't tell me that it has something in it. You know what I mean? I'll be, especially if we're there or Canada or someone say, hey, you want to hit this? And I'd be like, sure. Like, you asshole, you didn't tell me it had tobacco in it. But they say they can't believe I smoke it with just weed because that's too much weed.
Really?
That's the perspective I've heard, that they can't believe I smoke a whole joint with just the weed because they would get so high, and that's why they like to put the cigarette, to mix it with. But that's what I've heard anyway. I don't know if that's everybody's perspective, and I doubt it because we all have different perspectives.
That's right. Oh, geez, I never knew they mixed. I never knew that was a thing too, mixing the tobacco with the weed. That's pretty.
Always learning on the One of a Kind podcast.
How was about that? The theme artist himself, Seth asks, BBDC, can you bring Conan on? I feel like he and RVD could just smoke and talk about life. I'd be there for that.
Yeah, that would be cool. We could definitely do that sometime. Our format, isn't really either about having guests or me by myself, and so it's not like we have a specific format. And when we do have guests, so far it's usually people that I just hang around with. Instead of interviewing them, it's more like them contributing to a conversation. Someone that I don't know or hang out with that much, like Conan, I guess we would have to change that agenda to be more like interviewing him, or he might feel like maybe we're wasting his time. Like like when I was on Man Cow several times, I'd be on, hey, cool, I'm gonna be on Man Cow. Then I'm on there and there's like 6 other people on there, and then they're all moving so fast with everything that I'm like, boom, 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 like what the fuck? And it's like, oh, I gotta fight to get a word in to be online, And anyway, I feel like certain people, certain guests, we're talking to somebody that has a really big reach. I'm not saying it's Maven. I'm not saying it's not, but I like Maven. He's someone I hang out with and normally joke around and just have a conversation with. No, so Fonzie, Sabu, a bunch of the guys that I hang out with, definitely, and then reaching outside of that inner circle. Well, I guess why the hell not? Let's do it all.
Yeah, we can. Definitely can. And you were on Conan's show too, early on when we first kicked off the podcast.
That's true. That's true.
So how about that?
They owe me. Kevin Nash owes me.
Yes. We got a lot of IOUs to cash in.
Yeah.
All right, we'll close it out with this one, or this super chat here. Thank you guys for all the donations, by the way. I really do appreciate it, from Mr. Whisper to Seth to Greg to everybody here. So here we go. Orlando asks, hey, Rob, what was it like working with JBL? You mentioned
I don't remember working a whole lot with him. I do feel like I've taken a boot or maybe I had a match with him. I don't know. That's interesting. Like I kind of feel like I was in the ring with him, and I feel like it was. I wonder if I'm right about that. YouTube, Chris would know if I ever had a match with JBL, but it was he's snug, and I must know that for being in there with him, but snug in a way that I like, because I like it that way. So as far as being in the ring with him, it would be fine. But back when he had the loud, I got to be the center of attention voice that bellowed out like a loud, proud Texan. Being around, working with, just being around that energy. I even back before I was really into learning about my own spiritual growth, even back then I was in tune with energy enough to know that sometimes would strike me as pleasant as nails on a chalkboard.
There was I know Sean Oliver brought it up on the Nash podcast. It's like they always talk about like how you were like, oh man, JBL's like, I don't remember what destroying your Zen or something was what you said. I think it was. And
it was never because there was like never any issue or anything like that. It was just it was just like in general. I still like if someone's really loud. I'm glad that Katie knows and understands me, because sometimes I don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, "Do you want to go sit outside?" Because there was someone at the table that why I don't know why, but they just want everyone to be listening to them, and they're so loud. And a lot of people in general, they disrupt my Zen.
Well, I think you gave everybody a pretty good Zen here this week here, Rob. We covered a lot of ground. I'll tell you what, holy smokes.
Yeah, it feels like we've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, right? Did you want to do an RVDology or next week or whatever you want to do, man?
Maybe since we went so long, maybe we'll just wait, because I think I gave a lot of my perspective anyway, and hinted on a lot of values. If people were inclined, they would have picked them up. Cool. I'll put this stuff off. I had a couple ideas, but I don't really, and I'm sure Katie and Dee don't really want me on the laptop another 30 minutes. So thanks everybody. Is it too late to say Happy New Year?
No, you can still say. I think till the end of January, you're okay, right?
See you soon.
Okay. I like it. Guys, well, we will see you soon here on One of a Kind with RVD. If you like what you're seeing, go to rvdpod.com. You can get go to streaming early. I point down to the Premier Streaming Network if you want to get early. Rob shows the guns over there. Dang it, I put it the wrong way.
We need to talk about this.
Holy smokes, Rob.
Whoa.
Good golly.
Tune in every Friday. Whatever.
But you can get us every Monday at 4:20 p.m. The episode drops on all your podcast streaming choices, and we're going to do YouTube stuff too. So be on the lookout for some announcements, some fun stuff. And hey, it's always a good time. Rob, it's always fun to do this with you, man.
Indeed. I appreciate another week of good conversation, good memories, and hopefully we'll get some feedback and see how they appreciate it, because I did share quite a few life lessons if you pick them up, as I always do. Being the wise Zen ninja master that I am.
I like that. Wise Zen
Pull up and show. Barbie.
We'll see you guys next week here on One of a Kind with Barbie.